Good day, viewers. My name is Dr. Adegboyega Ogunwale. I'm a consultant psychiatrist. Today, we will be discussing a topic on personality disorders. What is personality first? Personality is the enduring manner of behaving, thinking, attitude that a person has, and it is pervasive in all aspects of that person's life. So a disorder of personality is one in which you have an enduring abnormal way of believing, thinking, acting, and reflecting on situations around you and the world around you. So in terms of personality, we are looking at how you behave towards others and how you behave towards yourself, how you think about your own personal identity as a human being. All of this put together are the things that we find in personality, and they are the areas that are abnormal in personality disorders. Now, when we assess personality as mental health experts, the domains that we look at actually reflect areas in which our personality shows. For example, we look at the relationships that the person engages in. We look at the attitudes of the person, that is the mental frame, the mental state of the person about himself and other people. We look at leisure. How does the person enjoy his free time? What hobbies does he engage in? We also look at the person's predominant mood. So is the person predominantly cheerful, or the person is predominantly reserved or even moody? We look at all of that as well as habit. Now, the difference between habit and attitude is that the attitude is basically your mental frame, the way you think, and your habit is what you are known to engage in or to do. So, for example, let's say someone is a person who is not willing to accept injustice at all. That is his attitude. But his habit will then be to join activist clubs and all of that. So when you see all of that, you can have an idea, a pinhole view into what his personality will be. So when do we say a person has a personality disorder? We say a person has a personality disorder when his personality style, all those things I've described, his way of thinking, his beliefs, his outlook to life and to himself, begin to produce distress within himself or in other people within his environment. Not only just distress in the sense of people feeling uncomfortable, but may impair his social functioning, the way he relates with the social environment, and sometimes even his occupational functioning. Now, when people have all of this, we can then say that their personality is disordered. Now, there are different types of personality disorder. Maybe it's easy to look at it in three broad schemes. So people talk about those who appear odd and eccentric, and then those who are impulsive. Then there are those who are anxious and submissive. Now, those who are the impulsive are also called dramatic. So there are three groups here. The first one is that they are odd and eccentric. There are those who are dramatic and impulsive, and then there are those who are anxious and submissive. Now, without going into technical details, I would say that those who are odd and eccentric are people whose beliefs, typically, and the way they then see the world around them are completely odd to those others who do not have such thoughts. So, for example, there is a kind of personality disorder which we call paranoid personality disorder, and it's one of the commonest. The prevalence is about 2.4% in the society. So these people suspect everybody and everything around them. They have an inflated sense of self-importance and entitlement, and they feel easily aggrieved. So when you find people who say to almost everyone they relate with, "You have offended me," the way you spoke yesterday, I know what you mean, but you were not saying it. And you are wondering, I never meant that. I only said what I meant. And they say, well, what do I expect you to say? And then it goes on, and you then think maybe it's better to avoid that person. It actually might be that the person has a paranoid personality trait or even a paranoid personality disorder. Within that same odd and eccentric, there is what we call the schizotypal personality. And I'm using these technical terms to give you an idea of the spectrum. So the person who is schizotypal, for example, likes to be all by himself, completely withdrawn, is cold, is aloof, does not relate with people much, but relates with objects, maybe the kind of person who will like computer games alone. It's just a kind of reality that is not your practical reality, it's almost virtual reality that he loves. His thinking is regarded as magical. It may be somebody engaged in things like astrology and all of that, but it's not wrong to be engaged in looking at, some intense academic material, but someone who then begins to talk about stars in a very magical and unusual manner, it might be a reflection of personality disorder of a schizotypal type rather than the person having another sort of mental disorder. Now let's talk about those who are the impulsive and dramatic. One example of that is what we call the histrionic. Oh, these people, they can laugh now and in 2 minutes they are crying. They just want to have their way. They may dress in a very gay and fashionable way just to make sure that they attract attention, to be the life of a party. And when they are not getting that, they can become dramatic about not being recognized or not being regarded and all of that. So we can say that such people love a high sense of display and they are called histrionic. Apart from all of those, you can have what you call the borderline personality disorder or the emotionally unstable personality disorder. These ones can even sometimes look like they have an abnormal state of mind, in which you might say they're almost psychotic. But sometimes they are not that way. It's just a reflection of how impulsive and how unstable they may be. Some of them go to the extent of harming themselves, bleeding themselves, and trying to create such a dramatic situation just to have their way or to let out the tension that is building up in them. And such people may be regarded as emotionally unstable personality disorders, or what you might call a borderline personality disorder. And then the last group, maybe the example of that might be those who are the anxious personality disorder types. These ones, they have a state of anxiety about almost everything. They are unwilling to engage socially because they are afraid of criticisms by others. They avoid social engagements. They avoid that kind of responsibility that will bring them under the scrutiny of others. I'm just using this as an example of what you might find in that third category. So we would have met people who, even if you ask them to just make a presentation or to address a small group, are almost going into a panic state. They are saying, no, I can't do that. And you're wondering, with their level of education and exposure, you should be able to do that. And they're saying, no, doctor, or no, my boss, I just can't do that. I will die before I wake up tomorrow to do that. And you're wondering, no, that shouldn't lead to so much intense distress. It's because they might have that sort of anxious or avoidant personality disorder that will make them regard the world around them as being so scrutinizing and so observing that every little fault they will find. Now, when we look at these personality disorders, we then will say, how common are they? So I've said that the paranoid personality disorder may be as common as 2 out of 100. And then you have those that are less than 1 in 100. A number of them are just about 0.7%. And then you have another one which I thought I should mention, which is called the antisocial personality disorder. It's still also less than 1% in the population. But such people may be responsible for a large percentage of crimes in a society. So someone who is a career criminal may not just be a career criminal because he's a bad person entirely, but because he has an antisocial personality disorder. So what do you find in someone who has an antisocial personality disorder? Such a person may not show remorse. In fact, will be unable to show remorse. He cannot learn from experience. He holds other people responsible for his own faults. So he attributes blame even to his victim rather than to himself. So he's unable to learn from the bad things that he has done. Such people are deceitful. They have a tendency to have superficial charm. So if you see the practical 419er, he may just be a person with antisocial personality disorder. So he has this charm and you want to believe him, you want to be his friend, but all he's going to do is that he's going to create a scam and con you out of your hard-earned resources. So these are the characteristics that you might find in someone who has antisocial personality disorder. And as I said, it may not be commoner than 1%, that is 1 in 100 people, but that 1% can be responsible for a large percentage of the crimes that might be going on around that area.